All right, everyone, you know that Migrant Caravan, that's no longer really an appropriate word for it. I would say a horde or invasion force. In the most literal sense. Again, I don't have any problem with these people for being like Honduran or Guatemalan or something, but when you get thousands of people together and they're like, we're going to storm your border, we're going to enter your country illegally, fucking do something about it. What the fuck else am I supposed to fucking term such a thing? The Democrats right now are in between a cock and a hard place. I'll tell you what I think is going on. What's going on is this. Groups, liberal groups, behind the scenes have probably tried to instigate this situation. I think they're hoping to force Trump into a situation where before the midterms, one of two things is done. Either he hardlines these migrants when they get to the border, disperses them with gunfire, or drags them all off or something, and it's going to be very conspicuous because it's such a large group. And that will cause higher turnout among the far left. Or he will refuse to do so, he'll take a more measured approach, he'll try to negotiate with Mexico and stuff, alienate his core fans, and drive right-wing turnout down. That's the no-win scenario I think that the liberals are going for. I do happen to believe that there are subversive elements funding this. There's a reason why they're able to travel at speed. They're not the ones bringing their own trucks. Other outside groups are. They're giving them supplies. They're giving them water and food and crude shelter and things like that. There's a reason why they're able to travel at speed and aren't covered in dirt and wearing rags at the moment. Here's the thing, though. I think that he's going to be able to successfully flip it around. The Democrats are playing with fire by weighing in on this issue and saying, I would like to see this. For instance, Trump's idea with regards to this group is they're coming here illegally. We're not going to allow it to happen. The military will be mobilized. This is essentially an attempted invasion of our country. We're going to stop it. The Democrats are crying foul. Oh my God, you're xenophobic, you're bigoted, it's terrible. What is your suggestion for maintaining our nation state? If a group of people, simply by virtue of being quite large, can storm our border at a whim, and we can't do anything about it because there might be a diplomatic issue, or somebody's finger gets broken, or it'll look bad to I don't know, some voting bloc that you happen to wine and dine, what's the point of having a nation at that point? If you cannot defend your border, here's the thing. Trump has already formulated a solution. Do you think that this group of people would be successful at storming the border en masse if it were guarded by a proper barrier system? As in, there weren't areas that were maybe a little bit lower security, where it's basically just a tall chain link fence, or a concrete embankment without any meaningful wall at the top. That is part of our border. Part of our border is essentially undefended. Much of it has a proper border wall of sorts. It's more advanced than it was before. It has like electronic monitoring, they use drones. By the way, we don't even need to do that. If you have a strong enough physical barrier, just have dudes literally on a rampart on the fucking wall watching what's happening. You don't need electronic monitoring. It's a little more expensive. It's also a lot less dystopian. I happen to dislike the idea of having sensors and drones and cameras everywhere. It's a little bit discomforting. Yeah, there's a reason why I'm hesitant. Like if I moved back to Texas, if you get too close to the border, you get to the point where you can be randomly stopped on the side of the road by a bunch of fucking guardsmen asking for your ID, and it's like, pretty sure this is technically unconstitutional, but people just sort of deal with it because it's like, what the fuck else are you going to do? There's no other way to staff the border, I guess. Here's the thing. Trump has proposed a solution. The Democrats so far have not proposed a solution. We have tens of millions, at least several tens of millions of people in this country that have come here against our laws. By and large, they're not breaking any other specific law. By and large, a lot of them came as children. Some of them, they're pregnant women. They have a child here. They don't want to split up families. Okay, whatever. Okay, law-abiding. In my opinion, not a threat to the country necessarily. But then there are people that are. There are some anecdotal reports that there could be militants among this group. They're not completely confirmed. Like, some people are like, oh yeah, Honduras caught a bunch of ISIS members among them. When you ask them for other sources, it's kind of scant. I'm not 100% sure that report is at least 100% true. But I can imagine, you get a group like this, and it is possible that you do have ISIS or maybe an Al-Qaeda agent or something, or definitely cartel members, filtering in among them with the idea that, hey, it'll be easier to penetrate the border if I'm in a group of, 8,000 people? It keeps growing too. It was like 4,000 people a week ago. Then it was 5,000. I think the new number's 7. So it's considerably larger. You're talking about the population of a decent-sized town, supposedly slowly marching its way in a ragtag fashion towards our border, with the explicit concept that they're going to enter. The Mexican government essentially has let us down and is violating international norms by not doing something. We've asked them to kindly staff their own border. A refusal essentially was issued because they were like, well, what are we supposed to do? They had their soldiers there. They had their security forces. The group of migrants, I guess, just basically stormed past them, and they're like, oh, we can't do anything about it. So now we have to deal with this situation. Mexico it'd be much easier for Mexico to build more extreme border defenses because their border is so much smaller, by the way. A lot of Americans, by the way, in all honesty, a lot of Americans couldn't tell the difference. They're like, oh, Mexico, Guatemala, Panama, they're all the same thing. It's like, no, try telling that to them, you'll get punched in the face. But here's the thing. We've got to do something, and the Democrats aren't offering any solution. What solution have they offered? They're like, Trump bad, Trump mean, Orange man bad. Orange man wants to be violent to racial minorities or something. Okay, what do you want to do? What's your happy, family-friendly, immigrant-friendly, nice solution to this problem? What is the nice solution to people realizing that your government doesn't have the balls to defend its own border and they can walk across it anytime they want? The only thing at this point, I think, that's going to solve the problem is, unfortunately, probably a violent response. Treat it like an invading foreign force, which it technically is, and respond to it with the military as such. Make it clear to these people, if you do not disperse, if you attempt to walk across and storm this border, we're probably going to pelt you with rubber bullets. You're not going to make it across the border. And to the Mexican government, since you are unwilling to do anything about it, if some of our fire lands in your country, fuck off. Go ahead and launch a diplomatic response and see what happens. Unfortunately, that might be necessary, and you know what's going to happen. I'll tell you what's going to happen. All the liberals will encourage them to do this. When it looks like Trump's actually going to respond, they'll take all the kids in this group, and they'll probably put them right in the front line, and they'll have, like, pregnant women carrying children like shields in front. You watch. I bet anything that that'll happen. They're hoping that they get hit. That way it'll be a diplomatic nightmare. They're hoping to force Trump into a no-win scenario. Trump should consult Mattis and see what he would do. I really mean that. Ask Mattis what his suggestion is. Have him come out and launch the response. Very visibly. Delineate that authority to him. Be like, well, he's heading, all the military endeavors. He's going to talk to the press and tell him why we need to respond, how we're going to respond. That's his responsibility. This is a foreign invading force now. It's no longer just a group of illegal immigrants. Trump should do that. Then he turns it into a no-lose scenario. It doesn't matter what happens. If the response goes bad, it's not centrally his fault. And they're not going to blame Mattis because the liberals actually have heaped praise on him. They like Mattis. Trump set the stage for that anyway by saying, well, he's kind of a Democrat. He might leave anyway. So use Mattis for your response. If the response goes well, I guess no significant violence is a pretty good thing. Or you can just wait until these people cross the border and put them in a detention facility. Say, okay, yeah, you're going to be detained, and we're going to put you back in your home country. That's the way our immigration system works. Fuck off. Stay away from our fucking border. This wouldn't be a problem if there were coherent border defense system. Again, I say this as someone who has no problem with a lot of the people that are in this country illegally being legalized, at least with conditional residency, some sort of status, pay your back taxes. Again, you've got to be somewhat fluent in English. That's not a bigoted expectation. That happens to be the language of commerce in this country. No significant criminal record. A couple minor misdemeanors don't matter. Like, okay, you got public intoxication 10 years ago. I don't fucking care. You smoked a joint. You fucking ran a red light. Nobody cares. I'm talking about significant crimes. Violent crimes or significant felonies. Or a lot of lower-level misdemeanors. Like, 5 cases of simple assault, that pretty much adds up to maybe 1 involuntary manslaughter. Okay, you shouldn't be in the country. Otherwise, who fucking cares, dude? Some of these people, it'd be a surreal moment. Here's the other possibility. The National Guard down there is probably full of people that are technically illegally here anyway, or are, residents of the United States serving in the armed forces. Take them and make them do the response. Yeah, absolutely. Literally, it'd be like the Irish Brigade sort of thing in the Civil War. That's what you should do, Trump. You should take a unit solely comprised of people who immigrated here legally and put them there. so that you make sure, and you make sure to tell the media is, hey, this is a regiment that's entirely comprised of people who are first generation immigrants to this country. They want to defend it. They're willing to lay their lives on the line to defend our border. Fucking shut up. What will their response be? Oh, it'd be hilarious. Be a little bit of 4D chess now, wouldn't it? Again, it's not bigoted to presume that a foreign group of people should be turned away from your border if they're attempting to enter illegally. And the thing is, it's not even like, oh, under cover of night, I crossed the Rio Grande into the United States. It's not. This is very much transparent and out in the open. Why do you think a group of people would, instead of trying to escape detection and trying to filter slowly in, why do you think they would amass together? It's because they want it to be visible. This is a political move. Some third party is definitely organizing this. Based on the speed of movement, based on basically anything, this is not just a random grassroots event. This isn't an organic uprising of pissed off Guatemalan farmers saying, to hell with it, we're going to California. That's not what's happening. That's about all. Peace out.